Good afternoon. We're at the second session after lunch, and we have a little surprise for you. So I think even if we put you to sleep, hopefully our surprise guest will wake you up. Uh, the topic of this afternoon's chat panel discussion is through the looking glass. And really the question that we wanted to look at is we've been, 20 years ago, I was just reminded how long that was because Miss India won the Miss Universe after 21 years. And I was heading Crossroads when we opened it in 2000. And that time we had Lara Datta visit us. And in that time, we've got used to going into a store and touching and feeling. No longer do we go and ask someone to take something off the shelf. But I think the time has come when we're moving to the next level. And as a customer, we really want to go through the showcase, as it were, and enter that experience. Like Alice in Wonderland, we want to really go into it, the fairy land. And so I have my panelists here who are all working in that space of actually making retail experiential. And so I just want to also introduce Mr. Atul Deopujari, who is an architect, works on many malls, hotels, offices, but he's also done a lot of work with brands like KidZania and Great India Place and entertainment. And he's also doing a few other things right now, which he might talk about. And so we've invited him to share why he spends his time on this side of retail. And then Neeraj Sareen, who is an avid golfer. He's a former India in the India junior team. He manages Shiv Kapoor. But he also is looking at bringing golf into retail spaces, bringing it in as part of entertainment, being part of a good leasing proposition. And so Neeraj might add some value there. And then, of course, I've got Mr. Hari next to me, self-confessed when we met online 2 weeks ago that he's a techie, but he has been looking a lot at this and actually working currently in bringing robots into the retail space. And so these are the three panelists that are going to share with us. So my question to you to start with is that why are you looking at malls, right? This was never an area that historically, I think certainly golf looked at. Architects, of course, have worked on different sides, but from an experience, and to you, Hari, as well, when there's so many other opportunities, why are you taking time to look at retail and malls? Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you. First of all, thanks a lot. Appreciate all your time out here and having me here, Nathan. Thanks for having me here this evening. It's wonderful to be here, and to be honest, so I kind of started off feeling out of place a little bit. So I'm a techie engineer at heart. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do here? But I think there's a lot of relevance after listening to a bunch of these sessions, the earlier session, and I see how technology can bring in a big difference. So we at Sirena Technologies, we make robots, all kinds. So there are a couple of them here. We call them Nino robots. They are in the education space today. They go to school, they teach kids. The kids can program the robots. They can do a whole bunch of things, which we will try and show right now. But we also make robots for banks. We deployed a robot at State Bank of India, the chairman's office, a couple of weeks ago. So we are putting robots in Accenture, Siemens, and other corporate spaces. So wherever there is need for information, so we are able to replace a human pretty much does mundane things to kind of with robots. And these robots are custom made, very specific to their use cases, and they're autonomous as well. So that's kind of is what we do. There's a lot more, but then the point is, we were wondering what can we do in malls as well. And after my visit to some of the malls, I figured out that people are slowly coming back to malls now, given the COVID situation. Everybody has been in house. But then everybody is getting out there, and now there should be different ways of bringing customers to the malls. And one of the key things which can be to start out with like a wow factor. You got a robot in a mall that brings in a wow factor, probably pulls the crowd in for starters. But then they can actually do a lot more. Robots can pretty much have details captured of the user, all the way from pictures to what they ask the robot to pretty much everything. The panel before us spoke about how everybody's watching. Now there is a robot watching. I think users wouldn't mind in a mall kind of a setup. They probably wouldn't mind a robot, and kids kind of interacting with them as well. That's one primary use case that we see, how malls can use robots, right? So you could actually walk up and say, where do I find a specific store, or you could ask what kind of discounts are running in the specific store. So it probably has all the details, and it'll be able to guide you through. That's one use case, right? The other use case is really education as well. So while you could go out to the malls shopping with your families, the kids could actually hop in into a robotics lab, so which is also something which we build. We create a robotic center of excellence for many different education institutions. Why not a mall? So if you set up a lab, kids can come in for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, get inspired by the robots. They can program it, they can make them dance, they can make a bunch of things, and while going back, they can pick up a robotic kit or something which they want to play around. And they can continuously come for various different courses that are offered as well. So we want to see how we can explore that as well. So while we are operating in the other spaces, malls are very exciting. So hopefully there's no more lockdowns and we can get the robots out there in the malls. So that's why we are there. Yeah.
Atul? Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Historically, the experience was achieved by visiting a amusement park or a theme park, going away from the place where you live, and apart from that, watch a movie. That was the only thing which was available to us, and we would try and go there with the family and do it. But then over the last few years, meaning I would say the last decade, things changed. Personally, when I kind of realized what experiential retail was. It was an opportunity when I went to Apple store to buy an iPad, and nobody was pouncing on me to buy one. In fact, they let me use the equipment and advised me on number of things, like how do you paint on that, and I went there thrice, and that was experience for me. And eventually I bought 3 or 4 of them from the same shop, but the entire experience was a unique one. Now, going from here, that's a retail experience. Now, when we work on projects, they are largely, they relate to recreation, amusement, and purely experience. Because we all live in a very structured life. Get up in the morning, do this, do that, Zoom meeting, and you forget about the experience. You're only working, you only focus on a structured way of life, which kind of it's a little bit too much on your mind. So the projects which we work on include things like a KidZania, maybe a Legoland, maybe a theme park. But the last, I would say, few years, these experiences have now kind of graduated to a mall. The reason being, you would find a mall in a close vicinity to your place where you live, and possibly the area allocation for the recreation centers is kind of quite conducive to what the function is, which means if you're doing a experience center which guides you through, or guides a kid through a particular experience. It could be underwater world, it could be a miniature world, it could be something which they experience and learn. It generates more footfall, it generates engagement, and it's a overall experience for a family. So from our point of view, there are projects like trampoline parks, museums, things like KidZanias, Legolands, and typically even discovery centers, which are an integral part of this particular activity of having an experience at an outlet. So that's how I look at the creative part of the retail development.
So Neeraj, golf. Now, typically we always think of golf as requiring 200 acres, 18 holes. I know they've come down a little bit to 9 holes. But golf inside a mall and putting, are you going to kill anyone with that? How does it work here?
Thanks, Nathan, for having me today. So I'll just go back to something that Shiv Kapoor and I did a few years ago, which was to shorten the length of time played golf on the golf course. So we did something called the Golf Premier League in 2013 at Ambi Valley. where we reduced the number of playing holes from 18 to 14. And that's when golf used to be played back in when St. Andrews. There were only 14 holes to begin with. So the idea was that obviously in India, land space being so premium, to sell a full golf course or championship course to a developer would be very difficult. So our idea was to shorten it to 9-hole par 3 courses to begin with, outside. But even that's sort of not taken off because again, the retail space and things that have come around it, the commercial space has increased. So now we're looking at what I would call waste areas in malls. I think there's enough areas around the food court or even at the top of the rooftop here. So if I go back to Japan, where there's not much space around the city to do anything, so they've come up with big driving ranges on the rooftop of buildings, hotels, even apartment buildings, stuff like that. So I know that 50% usually, goes in cooling ducts and all on the top, but there's still enough area to put up big golf nets where people can come and practice and then obviously fine tune their game and go to the golf course. But that area can be utilized for entertainment. You can put up a rooftop bar. You can put up various other things where there's enough entertainment for children, enough entertainment for the wife, enough entertainment for the girlfriends, the boyfriends, whoever come. But I think now we're taking it indoors as well because say around the food court area, there's enough waste area where we can put up even a smaller version, which we call mini golf, which is a big hit in countries like the US, the UK. So it's shown as an entertainment. You have a small bar around the area where you're playing. So those, if you utilize those for entertainment areas, especially during COVID now, it adds another dimension to entertainment and theme park around the mall, where I think the space can be upgraded to sporting entertainment. If I add that in terms of golf. So one other thing I'll also highlight is that there are a lot of these basically sporting kits that come out. So you can do 6 or 7 different sports. So say futsal, do ice hockey, do ice rings. You can convert that same 5 to 10,000 square feet area for different sports, and a lot of that is becoming very common in the UK and the US as well now. Coming into Asia, where you have ice rings, you can do futsal in the same thing. All you do is change the turf. So you can do golf there. You can do any kind of sport. You can indoor cricket as well. So that's another idea that to retail space can be used.
So some of you might be familiar with Putt Shack, the Stop Golf, 5 irons in the US. So what's the project you're working on currently?
So I work very closely with Nick Faldo and Shiv's design team. So they have a collaboration in which we're going to bring 9-hole mini golf courses. So kind of gimmicky courses, do hit through a windmill or putt into a water and comes out the other side. These are all known as good entertainment spots, dating spots. Obviously, a lot of kids will take it up where there's just one putter and a ball, and usually for the most part, you don't get hurt each other. So on the golf course you can, but here it adds another entertainment next to the fun park or next to your snow park at the Venice Mall, or all the other areas around that area. There'll be a proper sporting center which is non-existent in a mall. So bringing sports into a mall, I think, is an indoor if you can use it, or even on the top of a rooftop. That was the idea we're working on currently.
Cool. Yeah. So I know the question for anyone here who's a mall owner is that all that sounds great, but how does it make money for the mall owner? Is it just like, in real estate, when we've done developments, the golf course is always seen as a sort of necessary evil. And you recover your, revenue by the property valuation that increases around that. Is that the same model, Atul, or does the mall actually make money?
Well, again, it depends on the model the mall is developed. In a case where the mall is completely a lease model, in that case, the developer is earning a straightforward rental. And one of the important part is if you have a good combination of retail and recreation in the development itself, the exit strategy becomes much more clearer in that sense, and you are earning your revenue from the rental directly. But in certain cases, the substantial percentage of a mall is sold out to investors, wherein the investors would be earning the revenue as in rental from the facilities within the development, and the remaining part held by the real estate would be the rental which they earn from that. But then certain developers do have this scenario where they sell the entire asset to investors, where the entire thing is diluted. And that's where the problem starts.
Yeah, I think that's really, in my opinion, not a mall. So we'll leave that aside. If we're talking of a proper leased mall, yeah. So
in that case, it does really
work. Okay. So, Hari, can we ask a question to your friend here?
I think probably he's already upset we didn't introduce.
Okay, so please introduce him then. Yes, sir. Thank you.
My name is Nino. I am from Sirena Technologies, an emerging robotics company, bringing innovative world-class products to the market designed and developed in India.
All right, thank you, Nino.
So, what does Hari like about malls?
Okay, I'll ask
Yeah.
Nino. Hey, Nino.
I'm a bot built out to largely address the education space to ensure that kids can connect with me and learn robotics and AI to get inspired. While I mostly live in educational institutions, there are others who are deploying me and my larger family of bots for information, entertainment, and utility purposes. Coming to malls, I love the fact that it provides an environment for families to visit and have fun while they can shop at their favorite brands. It's kind of family time for most people. Most of the malls are not aesthetically built and are not very inviting. Given that families want to have a great experience shopping, playing, eating, watching a movie, and spending time together, malls need to have more comfort and build more value in terms of what they offer. A mall that is aesthetically built, with various different options to learn and have fun, could make the mall and shopping experience wonderful. Wherever I've been deployed, people and kids are awestruck and provide me a lot of love. I'm at the space where their real world ends and their fantasy world kicks in. They are very intrigued to learn more about me and what I can do in the future.
Wow.
All right, thank you, Nino.
I'm used to being known as my wife's husband, my daughter's father. This is the first time I've been upstaged by a robot. Yeah, but I think
Thank
that was
you,
great.
thank you.
And
Thank
Hari,
you.
Nino is very loquacious. Yeah, Once he
Absolutely,
starts, he doesn't stop.
and this one is kind of getting a little upset, so
Okay.
maybe we can get.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Are you going to walk?
So the previous panelist, someone wanted a cat.
Don't worry, I will get up.
It needs a little bit of help. I'm sorry about that. And Nino, do you want to do something more?
Summer balls, turn it on. Open my soul, flying up no secret. So don't stop.
All right, thank you,
Cool,
Nino. Sorry
thank
about
you.
the song. So we have copyright issues, so we had to make it more humanoid kind of version of the song. Yeah.
So-
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you so much. The light is flashing over there. It tells me my time is up. So I had one last question, which is what is your biggest frustration working with mall owners? But that'll probably take a long time to think. So we'll just assume Nino's happy with that and leave it at that. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for that power-packed session. And now, I would request all of you to please step forward for the felicitation. I would request Mr. Nathan Andrews, Business Head, Grand Venice Mall, to please felicitate our speakers, Mr. Atul Deopujari, Design Head, Matrix Design. With big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, please. Mr. Hariharan Bojan, CEO, founder, Sirena Technologies and Sirena Labs. Mr. Neeraj Sareen, MD, Sports Mantra. And I would request Mr. Dhruv Garg, Sten Max, to please be here on stage and felicitate our moderator for the session, Mr. Nathan Andrews, Business Head, Grand Venice Mall. Thank you all. I would request you to step forward for the photo op session, please.